Hi everyone, welcome back to Radio Night Crime. Before you drift off, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. If you're enjoying the stories, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now let's relax and jump into tonight's case. Story 1. In January 2019, in the sleepy town of Denton, Texas, a bitter cold gripped the suburbs. Early on the morning of January 10th, a driver traveling along Highway 183 stumbled upon a grisly sight. In a snowy ditch along the road, a body was partially buried under icy ice, almost unrecognizable. When police arrived at the scene, they quickly identified the victim as Ethan Walker, 41, a respected state police officer who had disappeared 3 days earlier. He was in uniform, his body frozen in the cold, and he had 2 gunshot wounds to his chest and 1 to his back. Even more disturbing, Ethan's issued Glock was the murder weapon. Ethan's death was not only a heartbreaking loss for his family, but also a devastating blow to the Texas State Police, where he had served for more than a decade. He is not only a respected colleague, but also a beloved father and husband in the eyes of the community. However, as the investigation begins, the respect for this officer is gradually overshadowed by the dark truths that are revealed. A complex secret relationship makes it impossible for people to believe this truth. Let's follow the details of this case to better understand what really happened. Ethan Walker was born on April 15, 1977, in San Antonio, Texas, into a middle-class family. His father, Harold Walker, was a high school teacher, while his mother, Linda Walker, was a nurse. Ethan is the eldest son of 3 children. From a young age, Ethan stood out for his responsibility and protective spirit towards his younger siblings, making his family proud of his mature and thoughtful personality. Ethan graduated from high school with excellent grades and received a scholarship to the University of Texas at Austin, where he studied criminal justice. After graduating in 1999, Ethan decided to pursue a career in law enforcement, as he believed this was the path to bringing justice and helping the community. In 2001, Ethan joined the Texas State Trooper. With his serious work ethic and dedicated attitude, he quickly gained the trust of his colleagues and superiors. During his more than 15 years of service, Ethan has participated in many important campaigns, including drug busts and disaster relief in Texas. Ethan is known as a disciplined, upright officer who always puts the interests of the community first. His contributions not only help reduce crime rates in the area, but also build a positive image for the state police force. Ethan married Rachel Walker, an elementary school teacher, in 2004. The couple has a daughter, Sophia Walker, born in 2008. In the eyes of friends and colleagues, Ethan is a loving husband and a devoted father. His small family often appears at community events, making many people admire their ideal image. Ethan is described as a calm, humble, and caring person. He is always willing to help his colleagues and is a person who creates a sense of security in the team. However, the pressure from work and family responsibility sometimes makes him tired, but Ethan rarely shares these difficulties with others. In late 2018, Ethan began to show signs of change. He was working late more often and spending less time with his family. His coworkers noticed that he was becoming more reserved, as if he were carrying some kind of mental burden. On the morning of January 10, 2019, the temperature in Denton, Texas, dropped below freezing, leaving a thin layer of ice covering the suburbs. On Highway 183, a driver was driving early to work when he noticed something unusual. An old police cruiser was hidden behind a snowdrift on the side of the road, as if it had been abandoned in a hurry. Curious and a little concerned, the driver decided to stop to check. When he got out of the car, he felt the cold seep into his flesh, but what made him shiver even more was the sight before him. In the snow ditch near the patrol car, part of the body buried under the ice was exposed, with a cold arm reaching out as if trying to call for help. The driver immediately called 911, his voice shaking as he reported the gruesome discovery. Within 15 minutes, police officers were on the scene. They quickly cordoned off the area and began examining the body. The victim was lying curled up in a state police uniform. However, The layer of snow covering his body and the low temperatures had left him nearly frozen. After removing the ice from his badge and checking his identity, police identified the victim as Ethan Walker, 41, a state police officer who had been reported missing 3 days earlier. Finding Ethan in such a state immediately shocked the local police force, as he was a respected and well-liked colleague. Ethan's body was given a preliminary autopsy at the scene. Initial results showed that he had been shot twice in the chest and once in the back. Blood had soaked through his uniform, leaving black streaks frozen under the ice. What was particularly disturbing was that the police found Ethan's official-issued weapon, a Glock, lying near the body. After testing, they confirmed that the Glock was the murder weapon, suggesting that the victim had been attacked with his own weapon. The discovery raises a host of questions. Why was Ethan here in a remote area with no reason to patrol? Who had access to and use his Glock, and more importantly, who would dare to kill a police officer in the middle of a peaceful community like Denton? After Ethan Walker's body was discovered, the investigation proceeded quickly and carefully. Investigators from the Texas State Police worked with forensic experts to find clues to determine who had brutally attacked one of their officers. Ethan's body was transferred to the Denton Medical Examiner's office. Initial analysis revealed that Ethan had been shot twice in the chest and once in the back. All 3 bullets fired from close range, suggesting the killing took place during a direct confrontation, rather than a surprise attack. Forensic experts examined the Glock found near Ethan's body. After conducting ballistics analysis, they confirmed that all 3 bullets had been fired from this Glock, the same gun Ethan had been issued. However, the gun had not only Ethan's fingerprints on it, but also another clear fingerprint, the fingerprints of Captain Liam Carter. The discovery of Liam's fingerprints on the Glock surprised the investigation team, and they immediately turned their attention to the captain. On the first day of the investigation, Liam Carter, Ethan's captain and direct supervisor, was called in to give a statement. Liam claimed that on the evening of January 6, 2019, the day Ethan was reported missing, he had spent the night at home with his wife, Olivia Carter. Liam said he had no contact with Ethan that day. However, data recovered from Liam's phone quickly revealed another truth. Investigators discovered that Liam's phone had pinged a cell tower near his cabin at approximately 8:30 p.m. on January 6th, the exact time Ethan went missing. The cabin was Liam's personal property far from downtown Denton and had little traffic. Along with that, the call log showed that Liam had called Ethan that afternoon. This information completely contradicted Liam's initial statement that he was home all night. This inconsistency further raised the suspicion that Liam was hiding something. With the phone records and fingerprints as key evidence, the police obtained a search warrant for Liam's cabin. There, they discovered several suspicious traces. A small amount of blood, confirmed to be Ethan Walker's, was found on the wooden floor near the fireplace. The blood had been cleaned up but left traces. Scratches and shoe prints on the floor suggested a struggle or fight had taken place. A torn photo of Ethan and his wife, Rachel, was found in a drawer. The discovery of this photo added fuel to the theory of Liam's personal or jealous motives. As the investigation progressed, Olivia Carter, Liam's wife, was called in to give information. Olivia initially denied any involvement in the incident, but when questioned about her relationship with Ethan, she admitted that they had been romantically involved. During the interrogation, Olivia recounted in detail how she and Ethan Walker met and how their relationship developed from casual conversations into an emotional but dangerous affair. Olivia recalled first meeting Ethan Walker in March 2018 at a Texas State Police benefit dinner. The dinner was meant to honor the service of officers and include their families. Olivia attended as the wife of Liam Carter, Ethan's captain. Olivia felt left out throughout the evening. Liam, as usual, was too busy with work conversations, leaving her sitting alone. That's when Ethan approached her and struck up a conversation naturally. He politely asked Olivia how she was and joked about the formality of the event, which put her at ease. He was so different from Liam, Olivia said. Ethan was gentle, open, and had a way of making me feel heard which I hadn't felt from Liam in years. After the dinner, Olivia began seeing Ethan more often. Ethan always took the time to say hello and sometimes asked about his family life. By May 2018, Olivia found herself looking forward to these chance encounters. One day, at a conference, they sat next to each other at lunch. The conversation started out as simple stories about work and life, but quickly became more intimate when Olivia shared her feelings of loneliness in her marriage. Ethan listened attentively and empathized, saying that he was also going through difficulties in his relationship with his wife, Rachel. By June 2018, Olivia and Ethan had begun texting each other regularly. At first, the messages were just about work or daily life, but gradually they became more personal and emotional. Olivia said that each message from Ethan made her feel cared for and appreciated. "He made me feel alive again," Olivia admitted. The texts, the late-night phone calls, that was something I had been missing in my marriage. By August 2018, the affair officially began. Olivia and Ethan began meeting secretly. At first, they would meet at cafes or restaurants in other areas to avoid detection, but gradually they became more daring. Ethan began using a small cabin near the outskirts of Denton, owned by Liam but rarely used. The cabin became their secret hideout. Olivia and Ethan would often spend time there on quiet afternoons, taking advantage of Ethan's off-duty hours. Sometimes Olivia would drive to meet Ethan on remote roads where he was patrolling. They would talk for a few minutes or exchange intimate gestures before returning to their duties. The dates were always short and tense, but I haven't felt this alive in years, Olivia told investigators. Olivia admitted that their relationship couldn't last. By November 2018, Liam began to have doubts. Olivia felt Liam's eyes growing more prying, his questions becoming more insistent. Still, she couldn't stop seeing Ethan because being with him made her feel free from the constraints of her suffocating marriage. During one visit to the cabin, Olivia said Ethan was worried. He said that if Liam found out, things would be terrible. But both chose to ignore the danger, continue to see each other, and maintain their relationship in the shadows. "I knew we were wrong, but I didn't care at the time," Olivia admitted. "Ethan made me feel loved and appreciated, something I had been missing for a long time." Olivia ended her statement with a trembling voice. "I never thought it would go this far. I just wanted a moment of happiness, but it all turned into a nightmare." Olivia's account not only helped to clarify the affair, but also provided an important motive for the case. Olivia claimed that Liam found out about it through a private investigator he hired, which made him angry and increasingly unstable. Olivia also admitted that Liam had a controlling nature and had had uncontrollable rages in the past. With all the forensic evidence, phone records and statements from Olivia, investigators had enough grounds to charge Liam Carter. On February 15, 2019, Liam was arrested at his home. He remained calm but refused to answer questions, insisting that he was innocent and had been framed. Liam Carter was taken to Denton Police Headquarters. There, he remained calm and refused to answer questions at first. But as investigators presented compelling evidence from Liam's fingerprints on the Glock, phone records matching his cabin, and Olivia's testimony, Liam's cool exterior began to crack. Olivia's confession of her affair with Ethan sent Liam into a rage in the interrogation room. In anger and despair, Liam finally confessed to the entire process of planning and executing Ethan Walker's murder. Liam recounted that on January 6, 2019, after confirming the relationship between his wife and Ethan through the evidence provided by the private investigator, he felt his pride and honor were seriously damaged. Not wanting everything to be exposed, Liam decided to deal with Ethan secretly to protect his image in the family, the police department, and the community. That afternoon, Liam called Ethan on the pretext of discussing a career advancement opportunity. He told Ethan that he needed to meet privately to discuss the details of this and asked Ethan to come to his private cabin where no one could disturb him. Ethan, without doubt, agreed. Before Ethan arrives, Liam brings the evidence he has collected: pictures of Olivia and Ethan together, secret text messages, and the report from the private investigator. Liam also grabs a pair of leather gloves. Ethan arrived at the cabin around 8:30 p.m. When Ethan entered, Liam greeted him with a calm and professional appearance, but inside he was seething with anger. The cabin was dimly lit by the fire from the fireplace, creating a tense and heavy atmosphere. After a few short exchanges, Liam suddenly threw the evidence in front of Ethan: the photos, text messages, and other evidence he had collected. He looked Ethan straight in the eye and asked, "You think I don't know what's going on?" Ethan, taken aback, tried to explain and apologize. He admitted to his relationship with Olivia, but insisted that it was a mistake and that he was willing to cut things off to save things. However, Ethan's apology and remorse only made Liam angrier. The two began to argue loudly. Liam, unable to contain his anger, lunged at Ethan and a brief scuffle ensued. Ethan tried to stay calm and fight back, but Liam, a veteran, quickly overpowered him. In a fit of rage, Liam snatched the Glock from Ethan's holster. Without hesitation, he fired 2 shots into Ethan's chest, knocking him to the floor. As Ethan lay writhing, Liam stepped closer and fired a 3rd shot into his back, finishing him off. After killing Ethan, Liam began cleaning up the crime scene. Liam took Ethan's body out of the cabin and placed it in the back seat of his patrol car. He then drove to a snowy ditch along Highway 183, where few people traveled, and left the body there. He chose this location in the hope that the snow and cold would conceal the body long enough to erase any evidence. He placed the Glock next to Ethan's body to make it look like he had been murdered during a robbery. He deliberately shuffled some of the items in the cabin to make it seem more convincing. Before leaving, Liam carefully cleaned the cabin, burned any documents he thought could link him to him, and returned home as if nothing had happened. Liam ended his confession with a chilling statement: "I don't regret what I did. He destroyed my family, and I just did what I had to do to clear my name despite admitting to all his crimes." Liam's lack of remorse left investigators shocked and outraged. His testimony not only reenacted the entire murder, but also revealed the motives of jealousy, control, and selfishness that led to Ethan Walker's tragic death. On March 4, 2020, Liam Carter's first-degree murder trial officially began in Denton County District Court, Texas, attracting a great deal of public attention. The prosecution focused on proving that Liam had a clear motive and acted intentionally to kill Ethan Walker, based on jealousy and hurt pride when discovering the relationship between Ethan and his wife, Olivia Carter. Forensic evidence showed that Liam's fingerprints were on the Glock, the murder weapon, along with phone records that matched his cabin on the night of Ethan's disappearance, completely contradicting his initial testimony that he was at home. Liam's detailed confession at police headquarters about calling Ethan to the cabin and killing him became irrefutable evidence. The defense tried to mitigate the charges by arguing that Liam acted in an unstable mental state, provoked by the painful discovery of an affair, while also emphasizing his good character with more than 20 years of service on the police force. However, the overwhelming evidence from the prosecution, along with the testimony of Olivia and Ethan's wife, Rachel Walker, painted a clear picture of uncontrolled jealousy leading to premeditated murder. After a 10-day trial and 6 hours of deliberation, the jury found Liam Carter guilty and sentenced him to life in prison without parole. The verdict brought the case to a close but left a painful legacy, shaking the Denton community and damaging the reputation of the Texas police force. After the case, Ethan's wife, Rachel Walker, faced a double tragedy: the loss of the husband she loved and the bitter discovery of his betrayal. Despite her grief, Rachel decided not to let the tragedy overwhelm her. She spent time writing down her feelings, thoughts, and experiences during that dark time, turning her pain into strength. In 2021, the memoir Frozen Betrayal was released, telling the whole story of her family's downfall from love, betrayal, to the culminating tragedy that led to Ethan's death. The book is not only a personal story of a broken woman, but also a reminder of the devastating consequences that lies and jealousy can bring. Frozen Betrayal has received great attention, not only because of its emotional story, but also because of its powerful message of resilience and overcoming adversity. Rachel used the proceeds from the book to set up a foundation to support victims of domestic violence and crime, turning her personal tragedy into an inspiration for many others. However, the wounds of the heart cannot be completely healed. Rachel admits that each page of the book is a farewell to the memory of Ethan, a husband she once loved, but who also caused the irreparable collapse of their family. The memoir becomes a symbol of the harsh truth and the journey to overcome loss, so that Rachel can move on and find meaning in life. Story 2. On February 20th, 2015, in a quiet residential area in Taipei, retired professors Chun Chin-fu and Chong Sui-ping suddenly disappeared. They were exemplary people, respected by their neighbors, and had no conflicts or suspicious enemies. But 4 days later, Mr. Chen's body was found floating on the banks of the Tamsui River with a fatal wound to his neck. Ms. Chang's whereabouts remain a mystery. At first, the police thought it might be an accident, but a series of mysterious events began to emerge from a young woman trying to withdraw money from Ms. Chang's account, to clues leading straight to a coffee shop the couple had frequented. Who was the killer? How could someone with no criminal record conceal such a sophisticated crime? And what turned a seemingly simple disappearance into one of the most shocking cases in Taiwan? Let's find out with us about this tragic case. Chun Chin-fu and Chong Sui-ping are a respected professorial couple in Taiwan, a symbol of intellectualism, philanthropy, and an exemplary life. Mr. Chun Chin-fu, born in 1936, is an honorary professor of economics at a prestigious university in Taipei. With a career spanning decades, he is not only a learned teacher, but also a symbol of enthusiasm and passion for work. He is respected by his colleagues and loved by his students for his wisdom and his lectures that always contain profound knowledge. His personality is described as calm, humble, and approachable. Despite his high position in society, he has never shown arrogance, always ready to listen and support others. In daily life, Mr. Chun is simple, careful, and always maintains a spirit of continuous learning. For him, education is not just a job, but a mission to inspire and impart knowledge to the younger generation. At the age of 79, although retired, he still maintains an active and healthy lifestyle. Every afternoon he loves to walk along the river, immerse himself in nature to relax and recharge. He also has a special passion for chess, often gathering with friends to play and chat, seeing it as a way to bond and train the mind. In addition, Mr. Chun is an experienced financial investor. He not only sees stock investment as a hobby, but also as a way to pass on financial management skills to those close to him. He often shares his trading experience and gives useful advice to friends, colleagues, and even young people who want to learn. Chong Sui-ping, born in 1958. Chong Sui-ping is a professor of literature at a famous art university in Taiwan. She is known not only for her outstanding talent in the field of literature, but also for her dedication and enthusiasm in her teaching career. With a deep knowledge of both classical and modern literature, Ms. Chong has inspired many generations of students. Her lectures are always engaging, not only because of the rich content, but also because of the way she inspires passion and creative thinking in her students. Her personality is described as intelligent, strong, and full of vitality. Ms. Chong always demonstrates determination, high sense of responsibility, and enthusiasm in work as well as life. As a teacher, she is not only a teacher but also a friend, a mentor, always ready to learn, to listen, and support her students. Outside of teaching, Ms. Chong lives a simple yet rich lifestyle. She loves reading, especially classic literature and poetry, and finds joy in gardening and taking care of plants. Walking along the river with her husband, Chun Chin-fu, not only helps her relax but also helps her enjoy the peace of her happy married life. Ms. Chong is also an active participant in social activities. With a kind heart, she regularly contributes to charity programs, supports the less fortunate, and encourages students to participate in community projects. For her, helping others is not only a responsibility but also a joy and great meaning. Mr. Chun Chin-fu and Ms. Chong and Sui-ping have a love story that begins with their common knowledge and passion for teaching. They first met at an educational conference when Ms. Chong was a young and enthusiastic lecturer. It was Mr. Cheng's maturity and deep understanding that attracted her, while she brought him the freshness and inspiration of the younger generation. Their love, built on respect, sharing, and common ideals, quickly brought them together. Despite a 22-year age gap, their marriage has lasted more than 30 years and has always been filled with happiness. They do not have children, but their closeness and understanding have helped them overcome all difficulties in life. For Mr. Chun, Ms. Chung is an ideal companion, while Ms. Chung always sees him as a solid support both emotionally and spiritually. They share core values of knowledge, compassion, and the joy of simple living. After retirement in 2015, the couple chose the Bailey area, a quiet area in Taipei, as their retirement home. Here they live close to nature, spend time walking along the river, chatting together and participating in community activities. Despite owning a large fortune, including real estate, stocks, and many valuable jewelry, the couple lives a simple life. They do not like to show off, instead focusing on enjoying small joys, such as tending the garden, reading books, or playing chess. Every day, Mr. Chun Chin Fu and Ms. Chung Sui Ping maintain the habit of walking along the river in the evening, enjoying the fresh air and peace of Bat Lai. One of their favorite stops is Mammoth Coffee Shop, a famous place that has been introduced on television. Here they often enjoy cups of aromatic coffee together, chat, and enjoy relaxing moments in a simple but meaningful life. It was at this coffee shop that they met Ms. Xie Han, 34 years old, the young manager of the shop. With her gentle appearance, soft words, and hard-working attitude, Ms. Xie Han quickly won the sympathy of the professor couple. They recognized her politeness, sincerity, and constant efforts to improve in life, which made them pay much attention and love. When they learned about HC's difficult circumstances, Mr. and Mrs. Chun did not hesitate to lend a helping hand. They supported her financially, from small expenses in life to guiding her to learn more about financial investment, hoping to help her have a better future. They even considered her as an adopted daughter, giving her affection no different from that of a blood relative. In their eyes, HCAY Han is a trustworthy and lovable person. However, on February 20th, 2015, the respected professor couple Chin Chinfu and Chung Tsueping suddenly disappeared without a trace. Their family, friends, and neighbors quickly realized something was wrong when they could not contact them for several days. Concerns grew as the couple led a regular lifestyle and always kept in touch with their loved ones. After many unsuccessful attempts, the family decided to report to the police, starting a mysterious investigation. After 6 days of searching, on February 26th, a body was discovered on the banks of the Tamsui River, a quiet but deserted area, not far from where the grandparents often went for walks. The police quickly arrived at the scene to handle the case. Through a preliminary examination, the body was identified as Mr. Chun Chinfu, who had been missing since February 20th. The time of death was estimated to have occurred 8 to 10 days ago, coinciding with the time he and his wife disappeared. The most notable discovery on the body was a fatal stab wound to the neck, severing an artery. The stabbing not only caused instant death but also made it clear that this was a deliberate murder. This quickly eliminated the hypothesis of an accident or a normal incident, pushing the case into a new, complex, and unexpected direction of investigation. However, the whereabouts of Mr. Chen's wife, Chung Sui Ping, remained a great mystery. Her disappearance led the police to suspect that this could be an organized murder, most likely related to financial motives. Mr. Chen's death was just the beginning of a brutal chain of events, revealing a vicious conspiracy hidden behind the peaceful appearance of this intellectual couple. The case immediately attracted public attention. Under pressure from the public, the police decided to apply a clever tactic. Instead of publicly announcing that Mr. Chun had been murdered, they simply announced to the media that he had died from drowning. This was done to distract the perpetrator, creating conditions for the perpetrator to be subjective and reveal himself. The case became even more mysterious when investigators began to link the initial details to a familiar character in the professor couple's life. On February 27, 2015, an important clue suddenly appeared, lighting up the hope of solving the case. Just 1 day after Mr. Chun Chinfu's body was found, a strange woman came to the bank, carrying Ms. Chung Sui Ping's savings book and ID card, and requested to withdraw all the money in her account. This action immediately attracted the attention of the bank staff. Although the documents were under Ms. Cheng's name, the woman had a youthful face, completely inconsistent with her age of 57 on her ID card. This made the staff suspicious and decided to check further. When asked to enter her account password, the woman tried but entered it incorrectly 3 times, further clarifying her dubious intentions. Sensing something unusual, the bank staff immediately reported the incident to the authorities. This was not only a suspicious action but also a crucial turning point, revealing a direct link between the suspect and Ms. Cheng's disappearance. Who was this woman? How did she get hold of the victim's personal documents? These questions opened a new and tense phase of the investigation. After being refused by the bank staff, the woman quickly left and went to a nearby ATM to withdraw a large sum of money from Mr. Chang Chinfu's account. This action further raised suspicions, and the information was immediately reported to the police by the bank. The police immediately launched an investigation, monitoring transactions and data from the surveillance system. Security camera footage showed the suspicious woman riding a motorbike, covering her face, trying to avoid being identified. However, cameras along the route she traveled recorded the vehicle's journey. The investigation resulted in a surprising result when the vehicle stopped at Mammoth Coffee Shop, a place where Mr. and Mrs. Chang often went. After a thorough inspection, the police identified the woman as H.C. Yihan, the adopted daughter whom Mr. and Mrs. Chang had loved and helped very much. From someone they trusted and considered their own flesh and blood, H.C. suddenly became the prime suspect in this horrific murder case. On March 2, 2015, after many days of searching, the police found the body of M.S. Chang Sui-ping in a mangrove forest, about 30 meters away from the location where Mr. Chang Chinfu's body was found. Chang lay motionless among the dense tree roots, with a fatal wound on her chest, indicating the brutality and intentionality of the perpetrator. The autopsy results of both victims showed that they died around the same time, matching the date of their disappearance on February 20, 2015. In particular, no water was found in their lungs, which proved that the professor couple had been murdered before being thrown into the river. The perpetrator had deliberately taken advantage of the tide to dispose of the bodies, creating a scene that looked like a drowning accident. This discovery not only confirmed that this was a carefully calculated murder, but also showed that the perpetrator was extremely sophisticated and ruthless. On March 4, 2015, a surprising clue appeared when M.S. Chang Sui-ping's handbag, wallet, and mobile phone were found in the women's restroom at the university where she used to teach. This discovery initially led police to believe that she might have returned to school before her disappearance. However, after a closer examination, they realized that this was just a trick by the killer to mislead the investigation. The choice of a place familiar to the victims to leave their personal belongings further strengthened the theory that the killer knew M.S. Chang and knew her habits. 2 days later, on March 6th, the police raided the Monmouth Coffee Shop, which is believed to be closely linked to the case. There, they found the owner and some employees cleaning out the warehouse behind. What was even more suspicious was an old car parked outside the shop, with the back seat completely removed. Police suspected that this car may have been used to transport the bodies of the 2 victims from the crime scene to the mangrove forest near the Tam Sui River. Based on the evidence collected, the police believed that the deaths of Mr. Chang Chinfu and Mrs. Chang Sui-ping were closely linked to the Monmouth Coffee Shop. The cafe was only about 500 meters away from where the bodies were found, and more importantly, the couple's last known photo was also taken there. Further investigation revealed that on the night the 2 victims went missing, H.C. Han, the cafe manager and their adopted daughter, had swiped her card to end her shift at 11 p.m. However, the security camera recorded her leaving the cafe 2 hours later, a time that was not reasonably explained. Notably, M.S. H.C. was also the person who was caught impersonating M.S. Chang to withdraw money from the victim's account at the A.T.M. Faced with increasingly clear evidence, on March 7th, the police detained H.C. Han, the owner of the cafe, and 2 shareholders of the cafe for investigation. All 4 were considered prime suspects, opening a new phase of investigation to clarify the cruel plot behind this shocking murder. At the investigation agency, 4 suspects including H.C. Han, the owner of the cafe, and 2 shareholders of the Mammoth Cafe were questioned about the horrific murder. While the 3 men have consistently denied any involvement in the deaths of Professor Chen Qinfu and his wife Cheng Sui-ping, H.C. Han admitted that she had drugged the coffee of the 2 victims at the behest of the shop owner, Mr. Liu. According to H.C.'s testimony, the purpose of this was to render the couple unconscious in order to seize their property. However, she maintained that she had not directly participated in the murder or disposal of the bodies. H.C.'s testimony raised suspicions that the case may have involved a complex conspiracy involving multiple people. However, the male suspects denied all charges. They claimed that they had no motive to kill the professor couple and knew nothing about the plan. The police then asked the 3 men to provide evidence to prove their innocence, including financial information and schedules during the time of the crime. Through the investigation, the authorities confirmed that all 3 men were people with significant assets and had no motive to take money from the victim. Furthermore, there was no direct evidence that they were present at the crime scene or engaged in any suspicious activities related to the case. After reviewing all the evidence and statements, the police concluded that there was insufficient basis to charge the 3 men. They were released shortly afterwards, with the investigation focusing on the main suspect, H.C. Han, whose testimony matched some of the evidence at the scene and suspicious behavior during the investigation. However, the release of the 3 men has caused much controversy among the public. Some believe that they may have concealed their involvement, while others believe that the case really revolves around H.C. Han is the only suspect left in the case, and in the end, she could not keep her composure. After reviewing the autopsy images of Chen Qinfu, H.C. burst into tears and confessed to all her crimes. The reason she was so cruel to her adoptive parents was her bottomless greed. According to Shia's testimony, she learned that Mr. and Mrs. Chen owned a huge fortune, but had no children to inherit it. Therefore, from the moment she met them, she deliberately approached and flattered them with the intention of seizing their property. With her gentle appearance, intelligence, and cleverness, each Sai quickly won the absolute trust of the professor and his wife. They treated her like their own daughter, even adopting her. Mr. Chen, who was passionate about financial investment, not only taught her how to play stocks, but also set up a separate trading account with a large amount of money for her to practice. The profits from these transactions were considered her daily living expenses. In addition, Mr. and Mrs. Chen often gave her valuable jewelry, which further strengthened their trust in H.C. However, what H.C. received was still not enough to satisfy her greed. During a visit to Mr. and Mrs. Chen's home, Mr. Chen accidentally showed her the family safe, which was full of cash and valuable jewelry. That scene blinded H.C., prompting her to plan to seize all the assets of those who had loved and trusted her like their own child. Shuri Han began to prepare for the crime in a sophisticated manner, from winning over her adoptive parents to creating opportunities to commit the crime. On the evening of February 16, 2015, Mr. Chen, Qinfu, and Mrs. Chong Sui-ping visited Mammoth Coffee Shop as usual. This was also the time when H.C. Han, the foster daughter they trusted, carried out her cruel plan. While serving coffee, H.C. secretly slipped sedatives into their drinks. When the drugs began to take effect, she took them home under the pretext of taking care of them, but in reality, she planned to kill them. After taking them home, H.C. killed Mr. Chen and M.S. Chong one by one, then hid the bodies in a nearby abandoned warehouse. In the following days, she used the key taken from M.S. Chang's pocket to try to open the family safe, where valuable assets were kept. However, all her efforts failed. On the evening of February 25th, H.C. took advantage of the darkness and thick fog to dispose of the bodies. Using a cart available in the warehouse, she transported Mr. Chen's body to the Tam Sui River area and dropped it, creating a fake drowning scene. Similarly, on the night of March 1st, she continued to carry out this plan with M.S. Chang's body. When the incident was exposed, Taiwanese public opinion was shocked by the truth. A seemingly gentle woman, who had been loved and helped by the professor and his wife, could be so cruel. The public not only expressed sympathy for the unfortunate couple, but also outrage at H.C. Han's bottomless greed and betrayal. On September 14, 2017, after a lengthy investigation and trial, the court sentenced H.C. Han to life in prison. The Taiwan Supreme Court upheld H.C. Han's life sentence, rejecting the prosecutor's appeal to execute the death sentence. The decision was made after the panel of judges carefully considered factors related to the defendant's character and rehabilitation potential. According to the court, H.C. Han had no criminal record and was assessed as having good character. During her school years, she did not display any extremist views or unusual behavior. Psychologists and colleagues also gave her positive assessments, stating that her risk of reoffending was very low. In addition, during her detention pending trial, H.C. did not violate any regulations and cooperated with the authorities. This led the panel of judges to believe that she had the potential to reintegrate into society and rehabilitate her personality after serving her sentence. However, the court's decision not to carry out the death sentence has sparked a backlash from the victim's family and some in the public. Mr. Chun and Ms. Cheng's families have strongly objected, saying that the verdict is disproportionate to the crimes Tsai committed. A family member said if H.C. is not executed, there will be no justice for the victims and society. The verdict has also created a wave of strong controversy in Taiwanese society. Many people have criticized the judges, saying that they lack empathy for the pain of the victim's family and do not value human life. Some have even called the decision of dinosaur judges, referring to their coldness and lack of connection with reality and the emotions of society. However, there are also supportive views arguing that life imprisonment is a more severe but humane punishment, and asserting that H.C. will have to pay for his crimes with the rest of his life in prison. The case of H.C. Han not only left the victim's family with endless pain, but also raised big questions about justice, punishment, and tolerance in modern society. Story 3. A lavish wedding took place amidst the joy of two prestigious families. Olivia Carter and Nathan Sullivan had just exchanged sacred vows, marking the beginning of a perfect marriage. But no one expected that, just a few hours later, a terrible tragedy would occur on their wedding night. Amidst the splendid scenery of a luxury hotel, a horrific murder occurred in their honeymoon room. Nathan Sullivan was found dead with multiple fatal wounds, blood all over the hotel floor. The wedding night that was supposed to be filled with happiness turned into the beginning of an unforeseeable tragedy. The wedding night that was supposed to be filled with happiness turned into the beginning of an unforeseeable tragedy. Olivia Carter was born in 1982 into a wealthy family in New York. She was the daughter of an import-export businessman, raised in luxury and given the best education. She studied business administration at New York University, where she stood out for her beauty and charm. From a young age, Olivia was used to being pampered. She had everything she wanted without having to try too hard. Designer clothes, foreign trips, lavish parties, all were part of her life. But despite having everything, Olivia was never satisfied. She was fiercely ambitious, always wanting more. Olivia was intelligent and a master of manipulation. She knew how to use her beauty and charm to achieve her goals. While in college, she was not only a good student but also the center of attention. There was no shortage of boys chasing her, but she did not accept any of them easily. She was not looking for love, she was looking for power. After graduating, Olivia did not want to follow in her family's traditional business footsteps. She longed for a life of luxury, but did not want to be bound by the rigid rules of the business world. Instead of sitting behind a desk, she enjoyed parties, socializing with the upper class, and engaging in profitable relationships with the wealthy and powerful in New York. Olivia's ambition, however, was not limited to that. She realized that her charm could be a more powerful weapon than anything else. She began using it to influence men with money and power. She didn't have to work hard. She just had to choose the right men and know how to make them do what she wanted. By the time she turned 28, Olivia had a long list of wealthy lovers, but she had yet to find a real opportunity to rise to the position she desired. She didn't want to be just a beautiful woman who depended on men. She wanted to be someone who could control them. And she knew she needed a bigger, bolder plan. However, Olivia and Nathan met at a high-class party. It was a lavish event held at a 5-star hotel in downtown New York, where businessmen, celebrities, and the upper class gathered. Olivia appeared with a gorgeous appearance in an expensive evening gown, her hair curled slightly, a charming smile and sharp eyes. She attracted everyone's attention as soon as she entered, but it was Nathan who she paid the most attention to. Nathan Sullivan was born in 1978, came from a middle-class family, but rose up by his own strength. He is a good businessman in the financial field, owning many significant assets at the age of 26. He was not the type of person who was easily captivated by physical beauty, but Olivia was unlike any woman he had ever met before. She was not only beautiful, but also intelligent, skillful, and had an irresistible charm. Nathan was attracted to her from the first moment he saw her. During the party, he could not take his eyes off Olivia. When he had the chance to chat, he quickly realized that she was not only charming, but also very sharp. The two quickly found common ground in their conversation. Nathan was a serious man who believed in love and marriage. He wanted to have a happy family with his ideal wife, and when he looked at Olivia, he believed that she was the perfect woman to build a home with him. Olivia, with her instincts, quickly recognized Nathan's interest. She understood that he was not an ordinary man. He had money, status, but more importantly, he was a man of principles, responsible, and the type of man who could protect his woman. For Olivia, this was a perfect opportunity. The two chatted throughout the party, forgetting about the guests around them. Nathan was fascinated by Olivia's intelligence and charming way of speaking, and she subtly created silences, so that he could take the initiative to learn more about her. When the party ended, Nathan took the initiative to ask Olivia to meet again. She did not refuse, but cleverly made him feel like she was the one pursuing him. From that first meeting, the two quickly had many more dates. They went to fancy restaurants, attended events, and had fun together. Nathan became more and more certain that Olivia was the woman he had been looking for all along. He loved her confidence, independence, and the way she understood him after just a few conversations. Olivia knew how to make a man feel special, and that made Nathan more and more immersed in this relationship. Olivia also played her role perfectly. She always showed herself to be a delicate woman, knowing how to listen and support Nathan. She never seemed too dependent, but was close enough to make him feel that she truly appreciated him. This made Nathan love her even more, and from a simple relationship, the feelings between the two grew deeper and deeper. After only a few months, Nathan and Olivia became a much-admired couple. They appeared together at major events, always showing the image of a perfect couple. Nathan's friends and colleagues all thought that he had found a woman worthy of marrying. Their relationship lasted 6 months, and both families quickly arranged an engagement ceremony and a grand wedding held at a 5-star hotel in New York. Everything happened quickly, but no one was surprised. Nathan was always decisive in everything, and when he was sure of his feelings for Olivia, he did not want to delay any longer. His family was happy to see their son find a beautiful, intelligent woman who was suitable for his status. The Carter family had no reason to object, because Nathan was a successful businessman, a perfect choice for her. During the wedding preparations, Nathan was always supported by Ethan Brooks, his best friend since college. Ethan was a gallant, generous, and charismatic man. He was not only the best man at the wedding, but also played an important role in organizing the event. As someone experienced in relationships, Ethan was quickly attracted to Olivia from the first time he met her. Olivia also noticed it. Ethan's eyes, when looking at her, did not hide his interest. At first, their relationship only stopped at social conversations during wedding preparation meetings. But the more they interacted, the more they realized that there was an uncontrollable attraction between them. Whenever Nathan was busy with work, Olivia and Ethan had many opportunities to be together. It all started with looks that lasted longer than usual, accidental but meaningful touches. Every time Olivia felt a surge of electricity run through her body, she knew she was playing with fire, but she couldn't resist Ethan's charm. And then, Late one night after a pre-wedding party, all boundaries were broken. That was when Olivia and Ethan stayed late to handle some wedding preparations. Nathan had left before because he had an important meeting the next morning. They were alone in the lavishly decorated hotel room, surrounded by wedding invitations, guest lists, and detailed plans. A glass of wine, a suggestive smile, an unstoppable gaze, and then they were thrust into each other, uncontrollable. The affair began. Nights when Nathan was away, secret texts, brief but provocative touches between family gatherings. They found each other in the dark corners of hotels, in private rooms where no one knew. Olivia knew she didn't love Ethan, but the danger, the excitement of a forbidden love made her unable to stop. Ethan, unlike Nathan, was a man free from strict moral codes. He loved adventure. He loved the feeling of conquest, and having Olivia, the woman who was about to become his best friend's wife, made him feel more excited than ever. Olivia always appeared to Nathan as the perfect bride-to-be, but when the night fell, she was a completely different person when she was with Ethan. Whenever Nathan excitedly talked about the wedding, Olivia felt an inexplicable excitement, as if betraying him at this stage made her feel like she was in control. The affair lasted throughout the months leading up to the wedding. No one suspected anything, because no one could imagine that Olivia, the woman Nathan loved and trusted the most, could betray him right before the wedding. And Ethan, his best friend, was part of that betrayal. In September 2004, Nathan and Olivia's wedding night took place at a luxurious five-star hotel in New York. After a lavish party with hundreds of guests, the newlyweds returned to their room. The air was still filled with the scent of wine, and roses were scattered all over the bed, creating the perfect setting for their first night as husband and wife. Olivia wore a thin silk nightgown, her hair loose, a charming smile, but she was not nervous at all. Meanwhile, Nathan was filled with happiness, hugging his wife and softly whispering about the future ahead. But his joy did not last long. Just a few hours later, Nathan's phone rang. He received a notice from the front desk about a room reservation for some guests from afar. Being the considerate person he was, he immediately put on his coat and told Olivia that he needed to go down to the front desk to handle some business. Olivia nodded, giving a small smile, but as soon as the door closed, she quickly stood up. This was the moment she had been waiting for. She stealthily opened the door, glanced around the hallway to make sure no one was there, and then quickly walked to the next room, Ethan's room. She knocked lightly 3 times as if it were a prearranged signal. The door opened and immediately Ethan pulled her in, hugging her tightly. They rushed into each other like two people yearning for forbidden love. Olivia felt a surge of excitement, not because of love, but because of danger. On their wedding night, as soon as Nathan left, she was in the arms of another man. But what they didn't expect was that Nathan had noticed something was wrong. When he returned to the room after about 20 minutes, he found his wife nowhere to be found. At first he thought she might be in the bathroom, but when he didn't get an answer he began to worry. A feeling of unease crept up on him. He opened the door, stepped out into the hallway, and immediately saw what made his heart sink. Ethan's door was ajar. A bad feeling welled up inside him, and Nathan walked over and pushed the door open. The scene inside the room left him speechless. Olivia and Ethan were kissing on the bed, still immersed in their illicit passion, unaware that there were witnesses. In that moment Nathan was petrified. Everything he had ever believed in collapsed. The woman he loved, the woman he had promised to build a happy family with, had betrayed him on their wedding night. And the one who betrayed her was none other than Ethan, his best friend. This blatant betrayal made Nathan unable to contain himself. He lunged at Ethan, grabbed him by the collar, and punched him hard in the face. Ethan staggered to the floor, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. But Nathan did not stop. His anger flared up. He continued to hit him, forcing Ethan to roll on the floor to avoid the powerful punches. Olivia screamed, trying to stop him, but Nathan did not listen. He grabbed Ethan's collar, growling for an explanation. But Ethan had nothing to say. His eyes flashed with fear but also mixed with indifference. In the chaos, Olivia looked around the room, her hands unconsciously searching for something to stop Nathan. Then she saw a heavy crystal vase on the table. Without thinking much, Olivia picked up the vase and smashed it hard on Nathan's head. The collision was deafening. Nathan staggered, let go of Ethan, and held his head with both hands. His eyes darkened. He took a few steps back and fell to the floor. Blood began to spread, staining the pure white carpet. Ethan panicked, knelt down next to Nathan. He put his hand on his friend's neck to check his heartbeat. Her heart was still beating, but very weakly. Olivia was also panicking, but she quickly regained her composure. She knew that if they were discovered, they would never get away with it. Instead of calling the police, Olivia suggested that they stage a fake robbery. They quickly wiped up the traces. Ethan took a towel to wipe the blood from the floor, while Olivia rearranged the scene. She shuffled the furniture, opened drawers, and threw a few items on the floor to make it look like someone had rummaged through them. After making sure the scene was convincing enough, Olivia called the front desk. Her voice panicked. "Please help us. My husband was attacked. Someone broke into his room." The hotel staff immediately raised the alarm. Within minutes, hotel security and paramedics arrived. They found Nathan lying unconscious on the floor, blood still flowing from his head. Ethan and Olivia played the role of panicked victims, saying they heard a noise, ran over, and found Nathan beaten. The police were quickly called, but no one suspected Olivia or Ethan. The evidence they had created was too perfect. The police concluded that it was a botched robbery, and the attacker had fled when discovered. Nathan was taken to the hospital that night. He was still alive, but had suffered a serious head injury. Doctors told him that he might fall into a coma, and that even if he woke up, he might have amnesia or serious neurological complications. Olivia and Ethan stood outside the hospital room, pretending to be worried. But deep down, they knew that if Nathan woke up, things wouldn't be so easy. They thought they could get away with it, but no one knew that secrets can never be hidden forever. As the police investigated further, they quickly discovered many unusual points in the attack that Olivia and Ethan had staged. Initially, the scene was set up quite perfectly, but when forensic experts analyzed it carefully, they found that there were no signs of a break-in. The room door showed no signs of being forced open, and there were no strange fingerprints in the room other than those of the people involved. These small but important details began to make the police suspicious. The hotel staff also confirmed that they did not see anyone suspicious going in or out of Nathan's floor at the time of the incident. From there, the police decided to check the hotel's security cameras, and the recorded video completely changed the situation of the case. At 1 a.m., the hallway camera recorded Olivia leaving the bridal chamber and sneaking into Ethan's room. This was completely contrary to her previous statement that she was in the room the entire time Nathan left. The police also discovered that Ethan only returned to Nathan's room when there was a scream, not before, as he had said. During the forensic examination, another important piece of evidence appeared. There was a small blood stain on Olivia's dress. DNA testing showed that it was Nathan's blood. This completely contradicted Olivia's statement that she did not touch her husband after discovering his injury. Realizing that there were more and more suspicious points, the police decided to summon Olivia and Ethan for further questioning. At first, both of them tried to stay calm, continuing to cling to the story of a fake robbery. But when faced with undeniable evidence, the psychological pressure began to weigh on them. Ethan, who was not a strong-willed person, quickly collapsed. Under the constant questioning of the investigator, he was sweating and his hands were shaking. After hours of mental struggle, he finally put his head down on the table and confessed the whole truth. He said that he and Olivia had been having an affair for the months before their wedding. That night, when Nathan left the room, they took the opportunity to meet. He admitted that he was the one who initiated the relationship, but also admitted that Olivia never intended to stop. Ethan recounted the entire fight between him, Nathan, and Olivia. When Nathan attacked Ethan, Olivia panicked, and in a fit of rage, she picked up a crystal vase and smashed it hard on her husband's head. That blow knocked Nathan unconscious, leaving blood all over the floor. But what was worse was the plan to cover up their crime. Ethan said that it was Olivia who suggested staging a fake robbery to distract the investigation. She ordered the evidence to be cleaned up and furniture to be shuffled to make people believe that Nathan had been attacked by an intruder. Then she made herself look like a panicked victim when she called the hotel front desk to report the incident. When the police heard this confession, they knew that Olivia was the one responsible for the incident. With all the evidence from the security cameras, the blood on her dress, and Ethan's confession, the police immediately arrested Olivia on a charge of premeditated murder. The moment she was handcuffed, Olivia tried to stay calm. She didn't scream or overreact. She just stared at Ethan, her eyes cold and filled with hatred. He was the one who betrayed her. He was the one who destroyed everything they had tried to hide. But now all the blame was meaningless. Ethan was arrested soon after as an accomplice. When he was taken out of the hotel, he did not dare to look at anyone. His face was pale with fear. Everything he had ever had, his friendship with Nathan, his luxurious life, his image as a gentleman, now completely collapsed. They were both taken to the police station, locked up in jail awaiting trial. The news of the case quickly spread through New York's upper class. A perfect couple in everyone's eyes, a lavish wedding, ended in a shocking murder. The Sullivan family was devastated when they learned the truth. They could not believe that their son had been betrayed in such a cruel way by his new wife and best friend. Meanwhile, Olivia's lawyer tried to find a way to protect her, but with the overwhelming amount of evidence, there was almost no chance of her being cleared. The trial of Olivia and Ethan took place amid public outrage. An affair leading to murder on the wedding night was unprecedented. What had once been one of the most lavish weddings in New York had turned into a terrible tragedy. The Sullivan family was devastated. The upper class was shocked, and the media continuously reported on this shocking case. The courtroom was packed. Everyone wanted to witness the fate of the two traitors. The prosecutor presented a series of irrefutable evidence: security camera footage of Olivia sneaking into Ethan's room at dawn, blood stains on her dress, and Ethan's detailed testimony. Forensic experts confirmed that Nathan could not have been injured in a fake robbery, but that Olivia's powerful blow with a crystal decanter had knocked him to the floor. Under the pressure of irrefutable evidence, the jury took only a few hours to reach a final verdict. Olivia Carter was sentenced to 25 years in prison for murder. When she heard the verdict, she did not cry, did not beg, just silently bowed her head, knowing that everything was over. From an ambitious woman, she was now just a murderer imprisoned behind bars. Ethan Brooks, as an accomplice in cover-up, was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was completely broken, no longer had a gallant appearance, only belated remorse. The Sullivan family could not accept this heartbreaking truth. They had lost their only son to the brutal betrayal of the wife he trusted the most. What should have been a happy wedding turned into a tragedy that shook the entire city. The trial finally ended, but the lessons of betrayal, lust and greed still resonated. Olivia Carter had it all: beauty, money, a dream marriage. She could have enjoyed a life of wealth and fame with a husband who loved her. But because of a few moments of secret passion, because of her guilty excitement with Ethan, she lost everything. The wedding night, which should have been the beginning of a new chapter of happiness, became the end of her life. From a symbol of charm and success, Olivia is now just a prisoner, facing 25 years behind bars. The gorgeous dresses are replaced by drab prison clothes. The lavish parties are now just a distant memory. In prison, no one admires her anymore. No more admiring eyes or compliments. There are only long days of loneliness where she is imprisoned in her own mistakes. A promising future has collapsed because of bottomless greed. Story 4. This story explores a shocking case in Boulder, Colorado. A once peaceful city suddenly gripped by fear after the mysterious disappearance of a young girl. On January 7, 2018, Emily Carter left home as usual. She was an excellent student, a talented dancer, and the captain of the dance team at the University of Colorado. That day, she had an important practice, a busy schedule, and a bright future ahead of her. But then, she never returned. That evening, her family began to worry. Calls kept ringing and Emily's phone rang, but only a hopeless ring. No messages, no response. Her friends also began to wonder. Why did someone who was always punctual and responsible like Emily suddenly disappear without a trace? As the night wore on, concern turned to panic. The family drove down Emily's usual route, looking for any sign of her. But there was nothing. Emily was gone. The police were called. They combed the streets, looked for witnesses, reviewed surveillance cameras. Every clue led to a mysterious void. Where had she gone? Had anyone seen her last? Or had the worst happened? Just days later, a shocking discovery stunned the entire city of Boulder. A seemingly innocuous clue became the most important piece of the case. It not only helped the police track Emily, but also exposed a dark secret that no one could have imagined. What really happened to Emily Carter? Who is behind it all? Was it an accident or a pre-planned conspiracy? Let's dive into the details of this case. Emily Carter was born on March 12, 1997, in Boulder, Colorado, into a loving middle-class family. Her father, James Carter, was a civil engineer, and her mother, Linda Carter, was a dedicated elementary school teacher. Emily was the youngest of two children, with her older brother, Ryan Carter, being her best friend and protector from a young age. From an early age, Emily showed a curiosity and passion for the arts, especially dance. At the age of 4, she was standing in front of a mirror, dancing to her favorite children's songs. Recognizing her daughter's potential, her mother enrolled Emily in her first ballet class at a local art center. Emily was not only talented, but also incredibly persistent. While many other children saw dance as a hobby, Emily saw it as her own world. She practiced relentlessly, even spending hours a day perfecting each move. At the age of 8, she won her first prize in a local dance competition, making her family proud. Not in addition to her passion for dancing, Emily is also a studious girl. She always gets good grades in all subjects, especially math and science, two subjects that her father always encourages. Since childhood, she was taught to be diligent and disciplined, which helps her balance her studies and personal interests well. Upon entering Boulder High School, Emily continued to enjoy success. She became a key member of the school's dance team and was quickly elected captain at the age of 16. In this role, Emily not only led the team to state competitions, but also became a role model for other young dancers. Her perseverance and passion paid off when her school's dance team won first place at the 2014 Colorado State Dance Competition. It was one of the most memorable moments of her life, as she stood on the podium, tears of pride in her eyes. Not in addition to dancing, Emily is also an excellent student. She participates in many academic clubs, is a member of the National Honor Society, and was named the 2015 Physics Student of the Year. Teachers and friends describe her as energetic, warm-hearted, and always willing to help others. Emily also had a close friendship with Lily Thompson, her best friend since elementary school. The two were always together, from studying to participating in extracurricular activities. Lily was the last person to talk to Emily on the day she went missing. After graduating from high school with honors, Emily received a full scholarship to the University of Colorado, where she studied pharmacy. Although it was a challenging field, Emily was determined to pursue it alongside her passion for dance. In college, Emily became captain of her school's dance team, the Colorado Tigerettes, a title she earned with great difficulty. Under her leadership, the team won numerous awards in intercollegiate dance competitions. Not in January 2018, Emily was preparing for an important dance competition for her team. She spent a lot of time practicing, planning choreography, and making sure everything went perfectly. On January 6, 2018, she was still happily hanging out with her friends, chatting with her mother on the phone, and discussing her graduation plans. But no one expected that just one day later, her beautiful life would be cut forever. On the morning of January 7, 2018, Emily left home to go to dance practice as usual. She drove down the familiar road, looking forward to the practice. But then, she disappeared. No one saw her, no one heard anything from her after that. Not that evening, Emily's family began to sense that something was wrong. Calls kept coming to her phone, but it only rang in vain. No messages, no responses. This was completely unlike Emily, always punctual, always responsible for her plans. Her friends began to question her, too. She had promised to attend the small party after practice, but no one saw her arrive. How could someone as careful as Emily disappear without a trace? As the night wore on, worry turned to panic. Her family drove down Emily's usual routes, stopping by familiar spots, calling close friends to see if anyone had seen her. But there was nothing, no sign of her car, no sign that she had ever returned home from practice. Emily was gone. Her mother, Linda Carter, couldn't sit still. She kept checking her phone, hoping her daughter had simply forgotten to charge it or was preoccupied with something else. But her motherly instincts told her something worse was happening. At 12:30 a.m., Emily's father, James Carter, decided to call the police. At first, the police didn't consider this a serious missing person case. Emily was an adult, so she might have just gone to sleep at a friend's house and forgotten to call. But her family knew Emily would never do that. As time passed, the atmosphere in the family became increasingly tense. Emily's silence was no longer an anomaly. It was a sign of an impending nightmare. AS police began to investigate and interview people close to Emily. One name stood out: Lily Thompson, her best friend since childhood. Lily was the last person to speak to Emily that morning, but it was what she told investigators that really caught their attention. Lily recalled that a few days before Emily went missing, she had noticed a light blue Cadillac appearing near the school and seeming to be following her and Emily. At first, she thought it was just a coincidence, but as the car appeared more and more times in the university parking lot, on the road they often took to practice, and even near Emily's dormitory, Lily began to worry. "I thought I joked that day that someone might be following us, but looking back now, I wish I had said that sooner," Lily said, her voice shaking. The police took note of Lily's statement and immediately listed the light blue Cadillac as a suspicious vehicle. But another detail that made the case even more disturbing: Nathan Reeves, a 24-year-old man with a history of harassing women, was seen repeatedly near the University of Colorado dance team. Several members of the team said they often saw him sitting in his car, parked just outside the gym, silently observing them. Police learned from Nathan's background that he had been arrested for stalking women and threatening an ex-girlfriend, making him a prime suspect. When police ran data from Emily's phone, they discovered a crucial detail: the last call from Emily's phone had been made at approximately 10:58 a.m. shortly after she left dance practice. Her phone signal went dead at approximately 11:25 a.m., less than 30 minutes after she left campus. The phone's last recorded location was outside Boulder, near El Dorado Canyon State Park, a dense, remote, wooded area with little traffic. This caused a huge alarm. Why would Emily be there? She had no reason to go to such a remote and dangerous place unless she was forced to. A search party was immediately mobilized. Officers and dogs entered El Dorado Canyon State Park to search every nook and cranny, while helicopters swept the area from above. Dot's first few hours were fruitless, but then an officer spotted a strange object near a small trail of sneaker, and nearby they found a broken phone, its screen cracked but still identifiable as Emily Carter's. After finding Emily Carter's broken phone in the El Dorado Canyon State Park area, police immediately expanded the search area. Police then discovered that about 200 meters from where the phone was found, the search team found chaotic footprints in the wet ground. Some of the smaller footprints were determined to be Emily's, while a larger set of footprints led deeper into the woods, suggesting that someone may have dragged or carried her. Not far away, her clothes were found discarded in a trash bin near El Dorado Lake. Several personal papers, including Emily's student ID, were also found, apparently thrown away in a hurry. These findings led police to believe that Emily had not disappeared voluntarily. She had been abducted and possibly murdered. As police expanded their search to Lake El Dorado, they deployed a team of divers to scour the water. Within hours, a shocking discovery was made: a car submerged in the lake. When they pulled it from the water, police quickly confirmed that it was Emily Carter's Honda Civic. Inside, despite the waterlogged interior, they found signs of a struggle. The seats were askew, some fabric was torn, and most notably, a small amount of blood on the back seat. The car sinking was clearly an attempt to cover up the crime, but someone didn't have time to cover up the evidence. That same day, while the divers worked the lake, another search party continued to comb deeper into the woods. And that's when they made their most horrifying discovery. Under a pile of hastily stacked leaves and branches, the searchers found Emily Carter's body. She had been roughly buried, still partially dressed in her workout clothes, but her body had shown signs of having been dragged across the rough ground. When the medical examiner arrived on the scene, the cause of death was quickly determined. Emily had been sexually assaulted and then strangled. Marks on her neck indicated that she had struggled before being completely subdued. Through the investigation, forensic evidence, surveillance data, and witness testimony gradually painted a terrifying picture. Forensic tests revealed traces of DNA on Emily's body belonging to Nathan Reeves, who had been seen stalking her several times in the weeks before her disappearance. These DNA samples were found on Emily's fingernails, indicating that she had tried to fight back before being subdued. Police also found a short hair on Emily's shirt, which tested positive for Nathan. Nathan Reeves was no longer a suspect, he was the prime suspect. Investigators continued to examine security cameras around the area where Emily was abducted. A video recorded on the morning of January 7, 2018, in the university parking lot showed Nathan Reeves' light blue Cadillac parked just outside the practice area. A few minutes later, Emily emerged, leaving the dance studio and heading toward the parking lot. As she opened her car door, the camera captured Nathan Reeves getting out of the car, silently watching her. Although the camera did not capture the entire incident, it was enough to prove that he had been following Emily that morning. The police went to Jessica Miller, Nathan Reeves' ex-girlfriend, who had broken up with him over a year ago. When she learned that he was the prime suspect in Emily Carter's case, Jessica was not surprised. She recounted that Nathan had been obsessed with Emily for years, following her schedule and interests in an unusual way. He had said that Emily was too perfect to belong to anyone else, showing a clear possessiveness. Jessica also admitted that Nathan had a tendency to be controlling and violent, especially when rejected. It was not easy to leave him because he liked to have power and control over others. When she heard that Emily was missing, she had a bad feeling, but it was too late. After collecting DNA evidence, security camera footage, and witness statements, Boulder, Colorado police arrested Nathan Reeves on the morning of January 11, 2018. He was arrested at his parents' home, where he had been holed up for days after Emily Carter's disappearance became the focus of the investigation. When police stormed in, Nathan did not resist. He kept a blank expression, showing no surprise or panic as he was handcuffed and placed in a police car. At the Boulder police station, Nathan Reeves was taken into an interrogation room. When questioned by investigators, he calmly but stubbornly denied all charges. He said that on January 7, 2018, he had stayed home all morning and had not gone out. When confronted with security camera evidence showing his light blue Cadillac in the university parking lot that morning, Nathan began to falter. He tried to change his story, saying that he had just happened to drive by the area but had not come into contact with Emily. When investigators showed him evidence of his DNA on Emily's body, Nathan began to lose his temper. He claimed he did not know how his DNA got there, repeatedly saying that it could have been a mistake. After hours of questioning, Nathan began to show inconsistencies in his story. When police insisted that his footprints matched those at the crime scene, he remained silent for several minutes, then changed his story again. He claimed that he had met Emily that morning, but only to talk according to him. Emily had gone with him willingly to El Dorado Canyon State Park, and they had only slightly argued before she ran away. He denied harming her, saying that someone else may have attacked her after he left. However, the police did not believe this fabrication. All the evidence was against him, from security cameras to his DNA on Emily's body. It was undeniable. After 16 hours of interrogation, Nathan Reeves finally broke down. He could not make up any more lies. He admitted that he had been obsessed with Emily for years, always watching her from afar. On January 7, 2018, he stopped Emily as she left practice and forced her into his car. When they reached the El Dorado Canyon area, he tried to convince her to stay with him, but Emily panicked and tried to run away. In a fit of rage, Nathan grabbed her, and after raping her, he strangled her until she stopped breathing. When he realized he had killed her, he panicked, dragged her body deep into the woods, buried it under dry leaves and branches. He then drove Emily's car to Lake El Dorado and pushed it into the water to cover up the tracks. He tried to justify his actions, saying he had no intention of killing her, that it was an accident. But the police wouldn't buy it. He had planned it all along, and he paid the price. With Nathan Reeves' confession, the police officially closed the case of Emily Carter's disappearance. In February 2020, after days of intense trial, Nathan Reeves was sentenced to death by lethal injection. The jury unanimously found him guilty of the murder of Emily Carter, leaving no doubt as to the brutality and calculation of his actions. Throughout the trial, prosecutors presented irrefutable evidence, from DNA found on the victim's body, to security camera footage showing him stalking Emily, to matching footprints at the crime scene. His lies were repeatedly exposed, and even his late confession could not save him. When the verdict was announced, the atmosphere in the courtroom was electrifying. Emily's family hugged each other in tears, having waited so long for this day. They believed that justice had finally been served, that Emily, a talented girl with a bright future, had been given justice 2 years after her life was brutally taken. But for Nathan Reeves, it wasn't over. He refused to accept his fate, and immediately after his sentencing, he launched a series of appeals, using every opportunity he could to avoid the death penalty. He claimed that he was mentally incompetent and not mentally competent to stand trial, a legal tactic that has helped many death row inmates avoid execution. His attorneys quickly filed appeals, presenting psychological reports, trying to prove that he was not fit to be executed under federal law. Emily's family, who thought they had closed the chapter, now faced the prospect that their daughter's killer might escape the maximum penalty. In 2018, a landmark ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court changed the game. Under a new law, people diagnosed with intellectual disabilities could not be executed, and Nathan Reeves used this ruling to delay his sentence. Despite the prosecution's mental health experts arguing that he was fully competent, the Colorado Supreme Court granted a stay of execution. With this decision, he remained in prison, avoiding the death penalty. This not only caused public outrage, but also plunged Emily's family into despair once again. In the years that followed, Emily's mother, Linda Carter, fought tirelessly to get justice for her daughter. She attended hearings, wrote letters to the court, called for public attention, and repeatedly asked the government to reconsider Nathan Reeves' execution. But as the years passed, the exhaustion and grief of losing her child gradually destroyed her. The waiting, the endless trials, and the haunting memory of Emily's death sapped her spirit. In 2022, Linda passed away at the age of 65 with a pain that has never gone away. She never got to see her daughter's killer executed, never got to see true justice served, and Nathan Reeves, the man who destroyed Emily's life, continues to live in prison, a bitter end for the Carter family. Story 5. This story we will learn about a horrific murder that turned a dream honeymoon into the worst nightmare. A luxurious resort in the middle of a blue ocean paradise. A couple who just exchanged vows. A start that should have been filled with happiness. But after only 3 days, one person lies forever and the other disappears without a trace. On October 12, 2023, Anna Collins, a talented doctor from Los Angeles, arrived at the Paradise Cove Resort in Phuket, Thailand, with her newlywed husband Michael Turner. They had just held a beautiful wedding in front of their friends and family. Everyone believed that this was the beginning of a perfect marriage. But what no one expected. Only 72 hours later, Anna was found dead in the bathroom with serious injuries on her body. The police quickly got involved. Security cameras showed Michael leaving the villa in the middle of the night, carrying a large suitcase. But strangely, he did not report his wife missing to the police, did not call for help, did not show any signs of concern. Meanwhile, witnesses at the resort confirmed that they heard a scream the night before. So what really happened in that luxurious villa? Was it an accident? Or was it a premeditated plot? Let's take a closer look at the details of this case. Anna Collins was born in 1991 in San Diego, USA, into a middle-class family with a solid academic background. Her mother was a dedicated teacher who always emphasized the importance of education and morality, while her father was an engineer, a serious but loving family man. As an only child, Anna was raised in an environment full of love and strong personal development orientation. From an early age, she showed intelligence and sharpness, always ranked first in her class, and had a special passion for science, with a desire to help others and make a difference in their lives. Anna pursued a career in medicine and became a pediatrician in Los Angeles after years of hard work. She is not only a skilled doctor, but also has a warm heart, always devoted to children and their families. Her colleagues and patients love her not only for her excellent skills, but also for her gentle personality, patience, and empathy for each child she treats. Her work and a happiness, but there are also times when she feels lonely in her busy life, where professional responsibilities seem to take her away from personal relationships. Outside of work, Anna is an active woman who loves to explore the world. She spends her rare days off traveling, experiencing new cultures and finding relaxation through activities such as cooking, yoga, and reading. With friends, she is easygoing, always ready to listen and help, but is also quite trusting, a trait that sometimes gets her into unwanted situations. In terms of love, Anna had a 5-year relationship with a fellow doctor. She thought it would be a lasting love, but then she discovered that she was betrayed when her partner had a relationship with another colleague. That betrayal left a deep wound in Anna's heart, making her more in love. However, she always hoped for a sincere love, someone who could cherish and love her the way she had loved others. When Anna met Michael Turner in January 2023, she was quickly swept up in the romance he created. Michael was a gentleman with confidence and charisma. He knew how to say sweet words, making Anna believe that this was the man she was looking for. After the pain of her past, Anna wanted a fresh start, and Michael appeared as the answer to that desire. Michael Turner was born in 1985 in London, England, into a wealthy but unhappy family. His parents owned a prestigious financial investment company, but their marriage was full of cracks and eventually led to divorce when Michael was only 10 years old. The family separation left a great obsession in him. He lived mainly with his mother, a strong but cold woman who always reminded him that in life, the weak will always be controlled by the strong. That sentence gradually ingrained in Michael's mind, forming the personality of a person who always wanted to control everything around him, especially emotional relationships. From a young age, Michael was used to getting he wanted without much effort. Studying at prestigious schools and hanging out with the upper class, he developed a confident and charming demeanor. But underneath that exterior was a calculating and manipulative person. As an adult, Michael followed in his father's footsteps and entered the financial industry, specializing in venture capital. Thanks to his connections and strong family background, he quickly built a reputation. But many in the industry described him as a risk-taker who was not afraid to use tricks to get what he wanted. With a stable career and a lavish lifestyle, Michael became the ideal model in the eyes of many women. However, in personal relationships, Michael is not only an attractive man but also has extreme controlling tendencies. Friends commented that he could be extremely charming when they first met, but gradually became domineering and possessive of his partner. This was most evident in his first marriage in 2018. At that time, Michael married a successful fashion designer in London. Initially, he played the role of the perfect husband, but after only a few months, his control began to show. He required his wife to report every call, limited her from seeing friends, and even with her work. When his wife began to object, the relationship became strained and Michael became violent. By 2020, his wife filed for divorce and accused him of physical abuse, but thanks to his powerful family, Michael never faced serious legal consequences. After the divorce, Michael indulged in short-term relationships, mostly with wealthy or high-status women. He knew how to approach them, using his charm to make them feel special, but after a while his controlling streak reappeared and the relationships never lasted. The women who left him all had the same feeling: Michael was a dangerous man hiding behind a perfect facade. They met one evening in January 2023 at a charity event in Los Angeles. Anna Collins and Michael Turner first met. Anna attended as a pediatrician representing the nonprofit she supported, and Michael was there as a major financial donor. In the elegant atmosphere of the gala, Anna immediately impressed the guests with her elegance and warmth in chatting with them. Michael, with his confident demeanor and charming smile, quickly approached them. The initial meeting was casual, but Anna had no idea that Michael had been watching her from the moment she walked into the room. He took the initiative, using subtle words to impress. Their conversation quickly became lively, from work passions to personal interests. Michael showed a keen interest in Anna's life, asking her about her work, her family, and her dreams. This was Anna's weakness. She was attracted to men who listened and showed appreciation for the values she pursued. After the gala, Michael did not miss the opportunity. He took the initiative to ask for Anna's phone number and texted her that night. Anna, although still a bit reserved, could not deny that Michael was an extremely attractive man. The messages between them quickly turned into longer conversations and then led to romantic dates. Michael always knew how to make Anna feel special. He took her to fine restaurants, spent candlelit dinners with wine, and organized surprise trips to the countryside so she could forget about her busy work life. For Anna, this was a new feeling, a romance that she had not experienced in her previous relationship. Michael brought her a world that she had never experienced before, full of pampering, sweetness, and promises of the future. She began to believe that he was really the man she had been looking for after her past hurts. After only 3 months, Michael began to seriously talk about marriage. He said that he had never met anyone who made him feel so complete, that Anna was the woman he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. He painted a rosy picture of the future, where they would build a happy life together, with a small family and traveling around the world. For someone who had always longed for true love like Anna, this was what she had always hoped for. After only 4 months of dating, Anna and Michael decided to get engaged, a decision that worried many of Anna's friends. They warned her that the relationship was moving too fast, that she didn't really know the man she was about to marry. But Anna, after years of searching for love and having been hurt in the past, believed that this time she had found the right person. Michael appeared as the perfect man, always caring, pampering, and giving her sweet words. She ignored the warnings, thinking that her friends were worrying too much, and believed that this was true love. The wedding took place in September 2023, in a splendid setting with the presence of family and close friends. Anna was radiant in a pure white wedding dress, and Michael stood proudly beside her, as if he had conquered the world. But what awaited Anna ahead was not a fairy tale, but a trap set. As soon as they arrived at the luxury resort in Phuket for their honeymoon, the romance was quickly replaced by a feeling of suffocation. Michael began to control everything around Anna. At first, it was just seemingly caring reminders, like, "You don't need to reply to anyone's messages on this trip, just enjoy the time alone." But soon he was directly controlling her phone, showing irritation whenever she received messages from friends or family. Calls to her mother were suddenly cut short, and messages to friends were always monitored by Michael. Not only that, he also controlled the way she dressed, demanding that she wear the clothes he wanted, even criticizing her when she chose clothes that didn't suit his aesthetic taste. Gradually, Anna felt suffocated, but tried to reassure herself that maybe Michael just wanted them to focus on each other on this trip. But little did she know that these were the first signs of a toxic relationship she was about to get sucked deeper into. On the 3rd night in Phuket, while Michael was taking a shower, Anna accidentally saw his phone screen light up with a text message from an unknown number. She was not the type to invade other people's privacy, but her instinct told her that something was wrong. When she opened her phone, she discovered a series of text messages between Michael and a mysterious woman. The content of the messages were not the sweet words of an affair, but exchanges about Anna's assets. In them, Michael seemed to be discussing with this person her financial situation, her investments, and her ability to access her assets after marriage. Anna's heart was suffocating. The doubts she had buried now burst into fear. The man she trusted completely was taking advantage of her, maybe even had an evil plan behind this marriage. Unable to contain herself, Anna confronted Michael as soon as he emerged from the bathroom. She threw the phone at him, demanding an explanation. But instead of acknowledging or apologizing, Michael went from shocked to furious, loudly accusing her of invading his privacy. The argument quickly escalated. Michael moved closer to her, his voice no longer gentle, but threatening. Anna began to see a different version of her husband, one who was controlling, dangerous, and capable of doing anything to protect his secrets. She backed away, trying to get away from him, but Michael moved closer, his breath hot with anger. Then suddenly, in an unforeseen moment, violence erupted. Anna fell to the hard stone floor of the bathroom, her head hitting the edge of the sink. She tried to stand, but a sharp pain shot through her body as Michael grabbed her wrist, squeezing hard. The anger in his eyes was uncontrollable. He pushed her against the bathtub, where her body slammed into the cold stone. The next few moments became a nightmare as Anna was cornered, hit hard in the head, and strangled. Her breathing slowed as Michael continued to hold her, his eyes cold, devoid of any love. When Anna was completely still, he let go, stepped back, and looked down at his new wife lying on the bathroom floor, lifeless. Realizing that he had just killed his wife, Michael panicked but did not lose his composure. He deleted the messages on his phone, changed clothes quickly, and left the villa that same night, carrying a small bag with his passport, cash, and some important documents. Around 6 a.m., a housekeeper was assigned to Michael and Anna's villa. When she opened the door, she could not have imagined that behind the door was a horrifying scene. Anna's body was discovered in the bathroom, lying motionless on the cold tile floor, surrounded by signs of a struggle. She had many bruises on her body, especially a large wound on her head, with blood still soaking into the marble floor of the bathtub. The marks of strangulation on her neck showed that Anna had been violently attacked, and she had no time to fight back. What is particularly striking is that Anna's phone had been thrown into the bathtub, in an apparent attempt to destroy any evidence. This further proves that the killer had taken great care in concealing his crime. The scene in the bathroom, the brutality and tension of the struggle, with broken objects, signs of panic and fear. All the evidence points to Anna not dying in an accident, but a brutal murder. After an autopsy was performed, Anna's cause of death was strangulation and head banging against the bathtub. Sharp object injuries were also discovered, confirming that Anna had been violently and savagely attacked before being murdered. While the investigation was ongoing, police quickly discovered that Michael had fled the resort that night, carrying his passport and a large amount of cash. This further increased suspicion that Michael was the perpetrator of the murder. According to insiders, at around 2330, a loud scream was heard from the couple's villa. Guests at the resort, who were relaxing in neighboring villas, were immediately awakened by the violent sound from Anna and Michael's villa. However, no one knew exactly what happened, only that the scream was a sign that something terrible was happening inside. Some guests tried to contact the reception, but no one received a clear response. Just 15 minutes later, at 11:45 p.m., the resort's security cameras images of Michael leaving the villa, carrying a large bag. Although it was unclear what the bag contained, the image quickly became an important piece of evidence in the later investigation. Michael's hasty attitude, combined with the fact that he left the villa in the middle of the night, made people even more suspicious of the occurrence of an unusual incident. At 10, a hotel employee was assigned to check on the situation after receiving reports of loud noise coming from the couple's villa. However, when he approached the door of the room, he noticed that the Do Not Disturb sign was still posted on the villa's door. Although feeling uneasy, the hotel employee decided not to intervene, hoping that it might be a harmless argument between the couple. It was a regrettable decision, as it allowed the situation to develop without timely intervention. Security personnel were quickly given the data, and images of Michael leaving the villa in the middle of the night were the starting point of the investigation. Additionally, Michael's passport data showed that he had left the resort and was en route to the Thai-Cambodian border, raising concerns that he was trying to escape. Police immediately issued a warrant for Michael's arrest. After a 72-hour search, Michael was finally arrested as he attempted to leave the country on a chartered fishing boat. Michael appeared distraught upon his arrest, but tried to claim that Anna had fallen after drinking, and that her death was an accident. However, his claims were quickly disproved when forensic evidence and surveillance cameras showed that Michael had brutally attacked his wife. The discovery of Anna's injuries, along with signs of a struggle in the bathroom, confirmed that this was not an accident. In addition, Michael's escape from the resort immediately after the incident, carrying Anna's important documents, left no doubt to the investigators that Michael was the perpetrator. After being arrested, Michael was interrogated for hours. However, he remained uncooperative and did not give any plausible reasons for his actions. After hours of struggle, Michael Turner finally could not keep silent and began to explain the incident. Although he still tried to justify his actions, his testimony was no longer convincing when faced with the clear evidence that the investigators had collected. Michael said that it all started with a heated argument between him and Anna that night. They argued about money and some problems in their marriage. Michael said that Anna refused to listen and continued to make a big deal out of it, which made him feel agitated and unable to control himself. He insisted that he did not intend to kill his wife, but just wanted some time to cool down and think. During the argument, Anna pushed him, and Michael said that he could not control his anger, which led to her falling and hitting her head on the bathtub. But this did not explain the other injuries Anna suffered, especially the strangulation marks on her neck, which clearly showed that this was not a simple accident. Michael continued that after Anna fell and could not regain consciousness, he felt panic. He took away Anna's important things, including her phone and passport, so as not to be implicated. He thought that he might be misunderstood if he stayed, and in a state of panic he decided to flee. He took a bag of belongings and a large amount of cash and left the villa without telling anyone. To explain why he did not call an ambulance, Michael said that at that time there was only one thought in his mind: to run away. He did not think about saving her, he just wanted to get away from everything without being discovered. When asked why he did not inform the police immediately after the incident, Michael admitted that he did not know what to do. Panic and fear had driven him to act blindly, and he just wanted to leave as soon as possible. However, his testimony did not match the available evidence. The police collected enough evidence from surveillance cameras and traces at the scene to prove that Michael had actively killed Anna and tried to cover up his actions. He left the resort immediately after the crime, taking Anna's important documents and her phone with him, in order to destroy any evidence that could lead to the truth. Investigators were not convinced by Michael's testimony, as it did not match the details in the forensic report and the surveillance camera footage. All the evidence pointed to Michael acting with the intent to kill, and his immediate escape only confirmed this. With his inconclusive testimony and the overwhelming evidence, Michael was eventually arrested and charged with felony murder. Michael Turner's trial began on December 12, 2024, attracting a great deal of public and media attention. The entire investigation and details of the case were made public, creating a tense and emotional atmosphere in court. Michael was charged with premeditated murder, and the case took many by surprise as the dark details of his life were revealed. Throughout the trial, forensic evidence played an important role. An autopsy confirmed that Anna's cause of death was strangulation and headbutting against the bathtub, with numerous bruises on her body and signs of a struggle. The evidence showed that Anna tried to defend herself before being attacked, which made Michael's actions even more brutal and intentional. In addition, surveillance cameras from the resort recorded images of Michael leaving the villa at night with a large bag of belongings. This clearly demonstrated that he disappeared immediately after committing the crime, which could not have been a coincidence or an accident. Investigators also proved that he deliberately destroyed the evidence by throwing Anna's phone into the bathtub, losing all important data. Also during the trial, several witnesses at the resort gave testimony about Michael's loud screams and panic, further strengthening the evidence that he could be the culprit. The prosecution made a sharp argument, emphasizing that Michael not only brutally murdered Anna, but also deceived the public and tried to escape the truth by immediately leaving the country, taking the victim's documents and assets with him. This clearly showed Michael's criminal intent and that he had no remorse or guilt for leaving his wife in a critical condition. Michael's defense, although trying to justify that it was all a result of a heated argument, could not provide any reasonable explanation for Michael's actions after Anna had passed out. The reasons why he did not call an ambulance, why he ran away, why he did everything to cover up the crime were completely inexcusable. His defense only further clarified the manipulative and cruel nature of his actions. During the trial, Anna's family gave emotional statements, describing her as a dutiful daughter, a dedicated doctor, and a kind friend. They expressed their deep sorrow and said they could not understand how a man Anna had trusted could treat her in such a cruel way. Their statements brought many in the courtroom to tears. Ultimately, after hours of deliberation and consideration of the evidence, the jury returned a verdict against Michael. The court found that Michael had killed Anna with intent, and that his actions were not only domestic violence but also a sophisticated manipulation of his victim's assets. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole and was stripped of all legal rights, with no possibility of parole for the rest of his life. The trial ended in a tense atmosphere. Although Michael was sentenced, Anna's loss and the pain her family suffered were irreparable. The case is not only a reminder of the cruelty of relationships, but also a warning to recognize the signs of violence and control in love. Story 6. In November 1986, the bustling hum of a convenience store in Perth was shattered by a piercing scream for help. A young girl, nearly naked, stumbled inside, gasping for breath and crying out in panic. "Please, someone help me." At first, onlookers assumed it was a case of simple assault, but as she recounted her ordeal, the darkest chapter in Australian criminal history began to unravel. At 3 Morehouse Street, a seemingly ordinary couple had turned their home into the stage for some of the most horrific crimes imaginable. For young women vanished without a trace, until one escaped, exposing a terrifying truth. Within that house, love had been twisted into a tool for murder, a manipulative predator, a woman blinded by devotion, and a series of atrocities that left Australia reeling. The perpetrators would later be dubbed Australia's most sadistic killer couple. Their heinous acts sparked nationwide outrage, with citizens demanding the reinstatement of the death penalty to see them hanged. So what exactly happened that year? Now, let's travel back to 1986 to unveil one of the most chilling cases in Australian history. Perth, the capital of Western Australia, sits at the country's western edge, flanked by the deep blue Indian Ocean on one side and vast endless desert on the other. It's known as the City of Light and Serenity. With over 300 sunny days a year, averaging 8.8 hours of sunlight daily, Perth boasts the most sunshine of any Australian capital. Its alluring beaches and pristine wilderness draw thousands of tourists and immigrants annually. For years, Perth was celebrated as one of Australia's safest cities, where residents lived carefree lives along the Indian Ocean coast. But that tranquility shattered in the autumn of 1986, when, in the span of just 1 month, 4 young women vanished without a trace. Initially, police paid little attention, assuming the women were simply out with friends. But, as the number of missing persons grew, the cases took on a sinister, puzzling air. The first victim was Mary Nielsen, a 22-year-old psychology student at the University of Western Australia. Beautiful and brilliant, Mary was an exemplary student, beloved by teachers and peers alike. Her parents, both educators, lived in an upscale apartment. Despite her privileged upbringing, Mary was humble and hardworking, taking a part-time job at a fast food restaurant. She was the quintessential model daughter. On October 6, 1986, Mary attended a university seminar. After finishing her shift at work, she hurriedly left, and no one saw her again. Her parents were vacationing in England at the time, so her absence went unnoticed initially. When teachers and friends realized she'd been missing for days, they alerted the police. However, the local authorities were dismissive, assuming Mary had run off with a boyfriend or gone on a spontaneous trip, a common occurrence in their eyes. Days passed with no word from her. When police began to grow suspicious, an officer stumbled upon Mary's car parked in the lot, directly outside the police station. This only reinforced their belief that she'd simply gone off somewhere. Why else would her car be parked so conspicuously? The case was hastily shelved. But just 2 weeks later, another young woman vanished. Susanna Candy, a 15-year-old star student at Hollywood High School, came from a wealthy family. Her father was a renowned ophthalmologist in Western Australia. Bright, charming, and kind-hearted, Susanna was fiercely independent, insisting on working part-time, despite her father's protests that it was unnecessary. This led to frequent arguments between them. On October 20th, 1986, Susanna disappeared after school. Her frantic parents searched tirelessly, but found no trace of her, eventually reporting her missing to the police. As authorities prepared to investigate further, the Candy family received 2 letters, one postmarked from Fremantle, a nearby tourist spot. In the letters, Susanna claimed she was safe, just spending a few days with friends and would return soon. The police, after reviewing the letters, concluded it was a typical case of a teenager running off and closed the investigation. Yet soon after, a third woman went missing. Nolene Patterson, a 31-year-old golf club manager, was a former flight attendant of 10 years. Elegant, tall, and strikingly beautiful, she was adored at the club, often called a goddess by colleagues. On November 1st, 1986, Nolene left work as usual but never made it home. Her family, after a fruitless search, reported her missing. By now, Perth police finally recognized the gravity of the situation. 3 women disappearing in mere weeks was no coincidence. But before the investigation could gain traction, a 4th woman vanished just 4 days later. Denise Brown, a 21-year-old vibrant and outgoing young woman, loved dancing and socializing at bars in her free time. On the night of November 5th, 1986, after drinking with friends at a bar, Denise didn't return home. Instead, she called her parents, saying she'd be staying with friends for a few days. Terrifyingly, that was the last time anyone heard her voice. Denise's parents reported her missing, noting that during the call, her tone and words seemed unnatural, laced with fear. They were convinced something was wrong. By this point, police realized all 4 missing women, aged 15 to 31, were unrelated but shared one trait: striking beauty. Suspecting a serial abductor targeting attractive young women, Perth police launched a city-wide search. The 4 disappearances became a media firestorm, dominating headlines and spreading fear throughout the community. Authorities urged vigilance, especially among young women, advising them not to travel alone and encouraging tips from the public. Despite their efforts, the investigation stalled. Then, a breakthrough came unexpectedly. On the evening of November 9th, 1986, a young woman, panicked and nearly naked, stumbled into a small suburban Perth shop, begging the owner for help. "Save me! I've been kidnapped!" she screamed. The shopkeeper immediately called the police. Minutes later, officers arrived and took the girl to the station for questioning. Her name was Kate Moyer, a 17-year-old. After being given water and calmed, she began recounting her harrowing ordeal. "Last night, as I was walking home, a couple pulled up beside me in a car. They seemed so friendly. The woman smiled and said, 'It's dark out. Want a ride?' Thinking they were kind strangers, I got in without hesitation. They introduced themselves. Her name was Eileen. His was James. They said they'd just finished work, but suddenly the car turned down an unfamiliar road, and James held a knife to my throat, coldly saying, 'Stay quiet or I'll kill you.' I froze in fear, unable to resist as they drove me to a strange house. They forced me to call home and say I was safe. During the call, I said, 'I've been drinking and will sleep at a friend's,' hoping my mom would notice something was off since I never drink, but she didn't. After the call, I shakily asked James, 'Are you going to hurt me?' He laughed and said, 'If you behave, we won't do anything.' That night, they made me strip and dance, then forced me to watch Rocky with them. Afterward, James raped me while Eileen watched the entire time. When it was over, they gave me sleeping pills and handcuffed me to a bed. I didn't swallow the pills, hiding them under my tongue and spitting them out under the mattress once they were asleep. The next morning, when James left, I started talking to Eileen, trying to seem friendly to lower her guard. We talked about everything: family, work, love. Gradually, she relaxed and even uncuffed me. I secretly tucked a small note into the corner of their VCR, scribbling my name, address, and phone number with a few symbols. Then someone knocked at the door. Before leaving to answer it, Eileen warned coldly, "Stay quiet or I'll send you to heaven." As soon as she left, I scanned the room and spotted an unlocked window. Holding my breath, I quietly opened it, climbed out, and ran for my life until I reached the shop to beg for help. Kate's story horrified the police. Initially, some officers doubted her, suspecting she might be fabricating the tale. But as she provided more details, they realized the severity of the situation. Kate added that, while talking to Eileen that morning, she saw a newspaper on the table with an article about Denise's disappearance. Eileen glanced at it and remarked coldly, "A grown woman like that can't take care of herself?" Before laughing gleefully. Kate immediately sensed something was terribly wrong, and believed Denise was also a victim of this couple. Kate provided another critical detail. "I saw a bottle of pills with the name David John Burney on it. That might be the real name of the man calling himself James." At the mention of David's name, the faces of veteran officers hardened. They knew him well, a notorious street bandit who, about a decade earlier, had been a thorn in their side. Alongside a woman named Catherine, he'd committed dozens of thefts, frustrating police efforts to catch them. Now, they had reason to believe David and Catherine Burney were behind these chilling disappearances. David John Burney was born on February 16, 1951, in Perth, raised in a poor and dysfunctional family as the eldest of 5 children. His childhood was a relentless series of hardships. His father, often ill, was unable to provide for the family, while his mother, impatient and addicted to alcohol, was abrasive and cruel. She frequently hurled venomous words and sometimes lashed out physically at her children. From a young age, David scavenged in dark corners for food, and any lapse in watching his younger siblings brought harsh consequences from his mother. This brutal environment, coupled with prolonged trauma, twisted David's psyche, setting him on a path toward inevitable ruin. Catherine Margaret Burney, born on May 23, 1951, in Perth, fared no better. She lost her mother before she could even call her name. Her father refused to care for her, passing her to her grandfather, who also rejected her. From then on, Catherine grew up like a homeless child, shuffled between relatives like an unwanted burden. This unstable life left her withdrawn, isolated, and without a single true friend. When David was 12, his family moved near Catherine's home. 2 children bearing similar emotional scars quickly found solace in each other, becoming one another's anchor. 2 lost souls in the darkness clasped hands, sharing unspoken pain. At 15, David dropped out of school and began working at a racetrack. There, he started showing disturbing tendencies, abusing animals, and indulging in bizarre urges to expose himself inappropriately in public. The tipping point came one night when, masked and naked, he broke into his landlord's home with illicit intentions toward an elderly woman. This cost him his job and plunged poverty. With no income, David turned to theft, and due to their close bond, Catherine was gradually drawn into his crimes. On June 11, 1969, the pair was arrested for stealing property worth nearly $3,000 US. The investigation uncovered multiple prior thefts, leading to 11 charges of breaking and entering. As Catherine was pregnant at the time, the court showed leniency, granting her a suspended sentence. David, however, was sentenced to 9 months in prison. After his release, rather than reforming, they resumed their criminal ways. Just 1 month later, on July 9th, they were arrested again for 9 more thefts. This time, David received a 3-year sentence. On June 21, 1970, David escaped prison and reunited with Catherine. Together, they embarked on a new spree of misdeeds. When apprehended on July 10th, they faced 53 charges, including theft, unauthorized vehicle use, and unlawful entry. David was sentenced to 2.5 years, while Catherine received 6 months. Their newborn child was taken into welfare custody. From then on, Police mockingly dubbed them the reckless duo for their brazen crimes, hoping this stint would set them straight. After Catherine's release, her father pleaded with her to change, even securing her a nanny job to stabilize her life. Unexpectedly, the employer's son, Donald, fell deeply in love with her at first sight. Initially uninterested, Catherine was gradually won over by his sincerity and persistence. They married on May 31, 1972. Their marriage brought relative happiness. Catherine gave birth to 7 children, and their life seemed to settle into a steady rhythm. Meanwhile, David, after his release, married a kind woman. They lived harmoniously and had a daughter named Tanya, but tragedy struck. During a delivery job, a heavy object fell on David's head. No one knows exactly which part of his brain or nerves was affected, but afterward, he changed completely, becoming volatile, paranoid, and obsessively needing a woman's presence. If his emotions went unsoothed, he'd erupt into uncontrollable rants. David began cheating on his wife repeatedly, even bringing an underage girl home without shame. Unable to endure it, his wife took their daughter and left. At the same time, Catherine's life was unraveling. Her husband lost his job, sinking into despair. She alone supported their family, caring for an unemployed husband, 7 children, and an aging father. The crushing pressure left her exhausted. In that moment, David reappeared, locking eyes with her and asking, "Will you come with me?" After nearly a decade apart, 2 broken souls reconnected, perhaps disillusioned with her current life, or drawn to the one person who'd shared her darkest days. Catherine nodded without hesitation. In 1985, Catherine called her ex-husband Donald, calmly stating she wouldn't return. She and David moved into 3 Morehouse Street in the Perth suburb of Willoughby. Though they never legally married, Catherine took David's surname, calling herself Mrs. David, and living as his wife. Their life appeared to stabilize. David worked as a car mechanic at a nearby garage, while Catherine took odd jobs to cover expenses. To outsiders, they were a couple with a troubled past, striving to reform. But had they truly left the darkness behind? Or were they the reason for young women vanished? Police swiftly descended on 3 Morehouse Street to investigate. From the outside, the house was eerily quiet, showing no signs of anything amiss or anyone being held captive. The team set up surveillance nearby. Soon, Catherine returned and was promptly arrested. Fearing other victims might still be inside, police searched the house. In the master bedroom, they found chains, handcuffs, and sedatives under the mattress. Inside the VCR, alongside a Rocky cassette, was a small, carefully hidden note, the plea for help from Kate, one of the abducted girls. These findings corroborated Kate's account, confirming she'd been held there. Tragically, no trace of the other missing women was found. David was arrested at his garage, and both were taken to the station for questioning. When asked about Kate and the other missing women, the couple gave conflicting, contradictory statements. Catherine insisted she'd never met Kate. David, however, claimed Kate had willingly gone with them, even implying an intimate relationship initiated by her and shared drug use. Regarding the other missing women, David shook his head, denying any knowledge. Despite hours of intense questioning, both remained defiant, refusing to confess. As tension in the interrogation room reached a boiling point, an investigator played a psychological gambit, casually stating, "We've found them." Unexpectedly, this rattled David. He looked up, sighed softly, and murmured, "All right, I'll take you to the place." No one knows what prompted his sudden shift, but David and Catherine then led police to the sites where the victims' bodies were hidden. 3 women, Mary, Susanna, and Nolene, were found in Gleneagle, southeast of Perth. The 4th, Denise, was buried in a plantation in Wainrue, north of the city. Throughout the process, both David and Catherine remained chillingly detached, even smug, as if relishing the attention and infamy. Catherine callously approached one burial site, spat on the ground, and said, "She's there, dig." Her flippant words sent shivers through everyone present. In subsequent interrogations, the killer couple finally confessed to their crimes. It all began with David's warped desires, cravings Catherine alone couldn't satisfy. Gradually, his gaze turned to innocent strangers. On October 6, 1986, Mary was heading to a seminar when her car broke down. Stopping at David's garage to fix a tire, she was unaware she'd entered a fatal trap. Captivated by her beauty, David concocted a story about having better, cheaper tires at his home and invited her to come get them. Trusting him, Mary followed. From that moment, she was in the hands of a monster. After overpowering her, David brutally killed her. When burying her, he stabbed her body to speed up decomposition. To mislead investigators, he deliberately parked her car near the police station to create confusion. Catherine wasn't merely a bystander. She was an active accomplice, driven by blind devotion to David. She'd do anything to please him. Emboldened by not being caught after the first murder, they grew reckless, meticulously planning their hunts. Each afternoon, the shadow couple cruised for young women alone, offering rides to lure them. Once a victim was in the car, Catherine would signal with, "I'm hungry for something." That was David's cue to act. He'd brandish a knife, beginning a harrowing ordeal of psychological and physical torture. To delay concern from victims' families, they forced them to write reassuring letters claiming they were just away for a few days. After writing her letter, 15-year-old Susanna endured savage torture. David drugged her into unconsciousness, then ordered Catherine to kill her as proof of loyalty. Blinded by love, Catherine complied without hesitation. When asked why she willingly became an accomplice, her chilling response stunned investigators. "I wanted to test how strong my heart was. It was as I expected. I felt nothing. I was ready to follow him to the ends of the earth, no matter what, to satisfy his desires." However, Catherine's fervent devotion to David wavered with the third victim, Nolene. When Nolene's car ran out of gas after work, she encountered the demonic couple. Using their usual ruse, they abducted and held her for 3 days. But during this time, David developed feelings for Nolene, even saying, "She's so elegant, so beautiful, the perfect woman." His words enraged Catherine. She threatened him, "Get rid of this wretched woman, or I'll end my own life." Unwilling to lose his loyal partner, David killed Nolene. When burying her, Catherine, still seething, cursed, and threw sand in her face. Soon after, they targeted their fourth victim, Denise, using the same method. This time, David's brutality shocked even Catherine. While burying Denise, he struck her head with an axe. She collapsed but struggled to rise. David swung again, blood splattering everywhere. The horrific scene haunted Catherine, who began having nightmares. She started questioning their path. When they abducted their fifth victim, Kate, Catherine's compassion stirred. She deliberately left a window unlocked, giving Kate a chance to escape. At least that's what she claimed. Police remained skeptical, suspecting she was lying to lessen her guilt, rather than acting out of remorse. On November 12, 1986, David and Catherine were formally charged with 4 counts of murder and multiple counts of abduction. As they were escorted to Fremantle Magistrates' Court, an enraged crowd surrounded the building, forcing police to deploy a large force to maintain order. Facing the prosecution's accusations, both remained silent. On February 10, 1987, the first trial began at the Supreme Court of Perth. Crowds gathered outside, vociferously demanding the reinstatement of the death penalty to see the demonic couple hanged for their horrific acts. During the proceedings, Catherine exhibited sudden signs of mental instability. In the courtroom, she erupted into screams, cursing, spitting, scratching, kicking, and even biting, like a cornered animal. Yet, bizarrely, whenever she was near David, she calmed instantly, as if under a spell. Even as the prosecution read the charges, she showed no reaction, merely sitting behind David, gently stroking his thumb. Psychiatrists testified that Catherine suffered from the most severe case of dependent personality disorder they had ever encountered. David was her entire world. At his command, she would unquestioningly carry out any act: arson, abduction, torture, even murder. Both were sentenced to life imprisonment, but Catherine's trial was delayed due to her psychiatric evaluation. On March 3, 1987, after a thorough mental health assessment, Catherine was deemed fully sane and capable of standing trial. She too received a life sentence. Under Western Australian law at the time, life imprisonment required a minimum of 20 years before parole eligibility. Given the case's brutality, the court issued an order prohibiting David and Catherine from contacting each other, even by phone. Throughout the investigation, police suspected the couple's involvement in additional disappearances, such as Cheryl's in May 1986, Barbara's in June 1986, and another case from 1980. However, due to insufficient evidence, these cases remained unresolved. After sentencing, David was incarcerated at Fremantle Prison. There, he was ostracized and attacked by fellow inmates, forcing authorities to isolate him for his safety. In prison, David received mixed reviews. Some saw him as a model prisoner, polite, disciplined, and even tending to injured animals. Others believed his malevolent nature remained unchanged. A male inmate with intellectual disabilities accused David of assaulting him in prison, later receiving $73,000 in compensation. Catherine was held at Bandy Up Women's Prison, Western Australia's highest security female facility. There, she worked as a librarian and even performed in a prison production of Sister Act. Like David, she elicited conflicting opinions. Some viewed her as gentle and harmless, even writing letters to children. However, the officer who arrested her was convinced she felt no remorse for her victims or their families. He described her as cold, calculating, and self-serving, a skilled actress always manipulating to achieve her goals. Indeed, Catherine befriended other notorious female inmates, showing no regret and even sharing criminal tactics. In her first 4 years of incarceration, Catherine wrote over 2,600 letters to David, openly expressing her obsessive, frenzied love. For David, prolonged isolation and unmet physical needs took a toll, plunging him into severe depression. His condition worsened after his computer was confiscated for accessing illicit content. In the early hours of October 7, 2005, at Casuarina Prison, David hanged himself with a bedsheet, dying at age 54. Upon hearing the news, Catherine wept uncontrollably, begging to attend his funeral, a request denied. Under Western Australian law, life prisoners become eligible for parole review every 3 years after serving 20 years. Catherine was no exception. However, on March 14, 2009, under intense pressure from victims' families, Western Australia's newly appointed Attorney General, Christian Porter, placed Catherine on the never-to-be-released list, making her the third woman in the state's history to face permanent imprisonment. Despite this, the 3-year parole review process remained a procedural formality. In 2016, Kate, the sole surviving victim, publicly called for changes to Australian law, urging the abolition of automatic 3-year parole reviews for life prisoners. She told the media, "Every 3 years, I hear she's up for parole. It's torture. It forces me to relive the nightmare, causing irreparable harm." Remarkably, Catherine's youngest son supported this reform. In 2017, he publicly opposed his mother's parole, stating, "I endured her abuse multiple times. Her horrific reputation has led to a lifetime of attacks and stigma for me." Tanya, David's daughter from his first marriage, remained unmarried and childless into middle age. When asked why, she replied simply, "I don't want the world to have another David Burney." The crimes of David and Catherine cemented their infamy as Australia's most notorious serial killing couple. The house at 3 Morehouse Street, where these horrors unfolded, was once a pariah in the community. Locals avoided it, some even taking detours to bypass it. Over time, however, memories faded. Years later, the infamous house was sold for $425,000 US. Though money changed its ownership and its interior was fully renovated, the surrounding community could never forget the atrocities committed within its walls. As the rain falls and the night deepens, thank you for being here with me at Radio Night Crime. True crime stories remind us of life's mysteries and the need to stay aware, even in the stillness of the night. If you enjoyed tonight's story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let the sound of the rain lull you to sleep, and until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and let the night keep you company.